this social situation actually tiring to me, or am I making it exhausting by overthinking, by taking full responsibility for how everything goes? I don't need to do that. So now I know that when I'm actually tapped out, it's because I actually need to be alone, not just because I have like 1 million coping mechanisms and I'm being overly responsible in every social interaction. That is actually my genuine need to just retreat. Hi my loves, and welcome to this video. Today we are going to be discussing introversion and being a sensitive person. This video is part of my Pretty Sensitive series, which is a series where I, across my social media, tackle the themes that come with being a sensitive person, and for me that also includes introversion, which is what we're going to be discussing today. I think sometimes people get introversion and being shy confused, where that isn't necessarily the case. You can be sociable and still want to be on your own, still need a lot of your own space, your own time with no people around, and still feel like your social battery gets drained after sort of group functions, social functions. So that's really what introversion versus extroversion is about. When I'm speaking about it in this video, it pertains to how do we recharge? Do we need alone time, or do we recharge when we're around other people? And this is something that I found difficult at times navigating throughout my 20s. I'm 27 now, and I feel like the older you get, the easier it kind of gets to navigate, also because where you are in life or are expected to be in life, introversion becomes more and more accepted with age. But when you're younger, there's this expectation to go out, be social, party all the time, to sort of feel like you're fulfilling your 20s in, I don't know, the stereotypical way or the aspirational way. And I am just here to challenge that and say that isn't necessarily true. And yeah, I felt compelled to make this video because my relationship to it has changed and improved so much throughout my 20s. So I feel like I have some tips for you guys. So let's get into them. So first up, let's discuss introversion as it links to confidence. Because I think sometimes it's important to ask ourselves, are we sort of playing the introvert card, the sensitive card, just to get out of situations where we may feel a bit socially awkward or not 100% confident? How much of this is actually a desire to be on our own versus a desire just not to be around other people so our insecurities aren't projected back to us? And if you, like me, get in your head a lot or can overthink social situations, then sort of the avoidance of that can be confused with recharging, and that's just not true. I think we need to be very discerning with when am I just maybe feeling insecure, or like this situation I'm gonna overthink it, or when do I actually just need to be alone, you know, to recharge myself. And yeah, you have to have a little bit of self-discernment and be willing to ask the hard questions. It's like, is this social situation actually tiring to me, or am I making it exhausting by overthinking, by taking full responsibility for how everything goes? I don't need to do that, and as such I can just get to show up, be myself, do my best, and have an open heart. And I feel like that approach has really helped me relax in situations that I would find overwhelming, because that leads me on to my second point, which is about responsibility. Realizing that you are not the sole responsible person for how a social interaction goes. So obviously we're responsible for ourselves, but so is everyone else. So something that, and I've also mentioned this on my Danish podcast before, is embracing awkwardness. Like sometimes you just have to accept that there might be an awkward social interaction, or there might be a bit of silence, but it's not your job to always feel that or to appease other people. I also think of myself as a recovering people pleaser. So when you also have that on top of it, then yes, social interactions can seem draining because you're constantly like reading the other people and trying to adapt to them, where the more confident you get, the more you can just pull yourself home and take responsibility for who you are, and allow others to take responsibility for who they are, or for how they are or are not showing up to a given conversation or social interaction. Like you don't need to take it all on you, and you don't need to be perfect every time. Like I feel like as long as we're kind and friendly and polite, then then that's really all we can do. I know for me, like, I tend to have that thing where I want to fill the silence, but I'm also one of those people who can. I feel like through my work as an influencer of stuff, I've learned how to network and talk to basically anyone. I've had to learn sometimes that it's just, I don't have to do that. If someone wants to be like awkward, they can. It's okay. And then just seeing it as a practice in that moment of being like, wow, I'm just gonna sit with this and sort of allow it to be and see what happens next. The more I have come to love and accept myself, the more comfortable I am in social interactions and the less they stress me out and take my energy from that point of view. So now I know that when I'm actually tapped out, it's because I actually need to be alone, not just because I have like 1 million coping mechanisms and I'm being overly responsible in every social interaction, that it's actually my genuine need to just retreat. So the third point I wanted to talk about is, who are we hanging out with and when are we feeling which way? I think it's very interesting to sort of look at what kind of situations do you find yourself more depleted through, or which ones do you maybe look less forward to than others. For me, I found almost any one-on-one situation is fine for me. For me, it's usually big groups that overwhelm me and can overwhelm me beforehand. So for example, if I feel like I've had a busy week and I've had a lot on, and then I know I have like multiple big functions on the weekend, that would stress me out. Whereas if I knew I was catching up with 1 or 2 good friends, that wouldn't stress me out. And that's just because there's a different energy to each thing. For example, in my female and adult friendships, it's important for me to communicate that no, I may not be the last person to leave your birthday party. Actually, likely I'm gonna leave it kind of early, especially if it's a night thing, but I will absolutely be there for a girls' night in, or for a walk, or for some quality one-on-one time, because that's how I find the most meaning and energy in relationships. And obviously we give and take. So if a group setting is important to my friend, I will of course make the energy and the effort. I'm not saying it's all about like adapting friendship because I'm an introvert and I'm sensitive. That's not the vibe of this at all. But I think you can communicate that with love, and usually your true friends aren't really interested in you overexerting yourself anyway. I mean, I know I wouldn't be. If the reverse was true for some reason, like, yeah, I think that just knowing these things and getting curious about, okay, so what is it like? Is it just that I'm totally introverted or want to avoid people at all times? Or is it that there's certain situations that take more of my energy? I'm sorry about the noise, guys. Everyone seems to be going in and out of their flats today, but I can't really stop them from doing that. And again, it's all about getting curious on yourself and how your introversion or sensitivities show up. So maybe you have the opposite. Maybe groups are fine for you, but you find hanging out one-on-one or in smaller groups stressful. I just think the more we know ourselves, the better we can take responsibility for that and show up in the best way possible for ourselves and for the people in our lives by communicating clearly with them. And then I think also implementing, like taking the focus off yourself and being more curious, thinking when you're faced with a new person, how is this an opportunity for me to learn something about this person, rather than how is this an opportunity for me to make this person like me. Like, you don't need to be liked by everyone. Okay, so those were my sort of thoughts and theories on introversion and what I've learned myself that has helped me. Now I wanted to share 2 tips with you that are just handy, that you can implement in sort of daily life and in planning. The first one is blocking out time in your calendar. Literally put times in so that you do not make other plans in that block of the calendar. Because what happens is we see, oh, there's an empty spot in the calendar when someone asks us, oh, are you free that day? And just because you're free that day doesn't mean you should be available that day, especially if you are someone who needs to take time for yourself. Second tip is, this is actually something I also learned from sort of the work I do as an influencer, and we get invited to a lot of events and it's good for networking to go to this, but yeah, this applies to both professional and private things for me. So what I started doing when I had too many on, and I could already see like, oh, like, yes, I might be able to go, but it won't be fun for me. Like, I can't do 4 of these in a week. Because again, that takes a lot of energy as well, especially in a professional setting. So anyway, I was like, this isn't working, I can't do it. So I started saying no in advance, because people would rather have you RSVP? No, so they can like plan their event, right? And then I still put it in my calendar. I'll put it in like brackets or in a different color so I know. And then if a couple days before or even on the day, I randomly feel like I do have the energy or I do want to go, then I ask, is there still availability? Am I still able to come? Of course, there's always the risk that you can't because of whatever, you know, logistical things, and that's completely fine. People would rather, yeah, they would rather that you say no early and ask late if possible or if applicable than just canceling late. No one likes it when people cancel late. And this was something that I ended up doing quite a lot in my like early 20s when I got super overwhelmed with everything. And yeah, I sort of learned this tactic because A, professionally it doesn't work, and it doesn't work privately either. No one really likes it when someone cancels late to their birthday party, and I certainly don't want to be the person who does that unless I like really need to for my mental health. My mental health was also a lot worse in my early 20s. I struggled a lot with anxiety and panic attacks, but again, story for another day. At that stage, I was simply unable to manage it and therefore ended up doing this last minute thing more often. If I feel like pushed into a corner and have too many plans, I don't want to do any of them. So keeping the option a little bit open helps me feel less overwhelmed with social things. So yeah, guys, those were my tips and thoughts on introversion and sensitivity, and I just wanted to finish off saying in case anyone needs to hear it, that society tends to be built around more extroverted traits, and we sort of applaud extroverted traits and accomplishments a lot. But there's definitely also gifts and blessings with being an introvert. Me personally, I wouldn't change it. I love having the ability to spend lots of time with myself and just enjoy my own inner world. And yeah, I think it comes with a bunch of strengths. So I just wanted to remind you guys, because I feel like sometimes the discourse online or the way we speak about it, it can feel like it's something that needs to be fixed or worked around, where I mean, this video was essentially about how you work around it, but we do live in a society, as I said, that, you know, where we have to adapt to certain things. But just don't come at it from the energy of something's wrong with you, because there's literally not. Like, you're so fine. So yeah, just as always, approach this with self-love, not from a point of, oh, I'm not enough, or I need to change myself. I guess that's what I wanted to say with that. Okay guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope that I'll see you next time.